Good afternoon, everyone. We are watching the temperatures soar across the middle of the country. That is all compliments of a southwest wind that is turning more westerly as we head towards peak heating of the afternoon. That's more of a downsloping wind, and that, along with the dry line, is really going to crank those temperatures up, especially as those humidity levels go dangerously below into the teens out there into the middle part of the country. We're going to see numerous records being crushed across the board, but we do have a significant cold front that will be trailing on the backside coming in from the northwest. That's going to be dropping those temperatures through the Intermountain West and bringing those 1 to 2 inch per hour snowfall rates at times, with those snow squalls diving southeastward. But out ahead of it, we have the warm sector heading into Tuesday night, where we do have a window for severe storms across the upper Midwest. So this is the second channel, the Pal Ponder Ultra channel, why I put out extra content. This is more or less designed for detailed weather analysis and more educational content. So if you are new here, definitely hit the subscribe button and follow along. So let's really break this thing down for you on the surface map and how it's happening. We've got the low pressure coming into Los Angeles, more rain for them. Even Phoenix is actually seeing some showers this afternoon, but there's the more significant cold blast coming in from the northwest. We do have sporadic winter storm watches and winter weather advisories issued for Idaho and those areas across Utah into the Salt Lake City region. They could be seeing some thunder snow out there for them. But out ahead of it, that red area, that is a red flag warning. And as those temperatures take more of a downsloping wind, those humidity levels go dangerously low and cranks up, especially as the winds really start to elevate. And that's a fire watch out there in West Texas and around the panhandle of Texas, easily breaking some grass fires across that region and even into the portions of the upper Midwest as well. But we are watching a little bit more significant system starting to take shape with this more or less stalled frontal boundary and this warm front. So as this warm front lifts further north as we go into tomorrow afternoon, that will set the stage for all three modes of severe storms across this region. And I think that actually starts to get going, especially into tomorrow night, with the main concern is this more significant hail that could produce with those more isolated, discrete supercells across that region. But man, we've got a lot of heat to contend with, folks. I mean, you hardly ever see this. I mean, that is 81 records. That's not a misprint, folks. I mean, there's so many records that are going to be crushed this afternoon. You already reached 91 in Dallas, and you're not stopping. You got another 3 or 4 hours to go. And everywhere encircled there, that's a record-breaking temperature. So all the way through the southern plains, all the way through the middle part of the country, and well north, folks. I mean, all the way to the Canadian border. Minnesota topping out in the mid-50s there. All those elevated temperatures across Illinois, back into the mid to upper 70s there across portions of Illinois. And that is this dynamics that we're working with. And here's the snow for the next 24 hours. So it's going to lay down some pretty good snow squalls as this is going to be diving southeastward, mainly some higher elevation regions. But nonetheless, I mean, it's going to feel a lot like winter to the northwest, and you're going to feel a lot more like summer across the middle of the country until that cold front comes closer. And it's going to be about a 40 degree drop when that cold front does in fact start overrunning into those areas. But within the warm sector still, we're going to talk about more heat as we go into tomorrow. We still have upwards to 63 records that could fall. So yeah, just doing the math there, folks, that's 144 records potentially be broken just in the next 2 days. You hardly ever see that. And especially, it's only February, folks. So many of these records have been standing for about 100 years or so. And some of these areas could actually see their all-time highest heat for February that they've ever seen since records began. This is the type of system that we're going up against, with probably first triple digit of the year for Texas. And those elevated temperatures move further north. Look at now, low 80s for portions of Illinois. Yeah, that's not normal, folks, right? With that warm front continuing to lift further north, this is where we have all the instability across Michigan, mid to upper 60s across Michigan. Yes, that's where the stationary boundary is, and the warm front will be surging into tomorrow afternoon, and that's where we got to be concerned. So we've been watching these two jet streams over the last couple of days, and one of the things that we were looking at is if this more subtropical southern jet stream was going to be able to merge or kind of come together with the northern branch. And it really never does. I mean, at times it did have look to be a little bit more significant event, but overall, it doesn't appear that they never technically all the way come together. And they still have a severe risk, but it's definitely not as significant as possibly at what it looked like maybe just a couple of days ago. So there is a small window. And I think that small window is right there around 7-8 o'clock. I think that's where we're going to start seeing initiation of these larger supercells, and these could be isolated supercells, discrete supercells. And I think the main risk from this particular setup is going to be the larger hail with that colder air aloft, but we are concerned about more of a conditional severe weather isolated tornado threat. And then I think it all transitions into a squall line as we get into the overnight hour. So let's break it down for you. Here's the latest update from the Storm Prediction Center. Does in fact have that hatched risk. That's implying that you have a greater probability within this area, but within that 25-mile radius, of seeing a 2-inch hailstone or greater within this region. So yes, this is a significant event. If they do come together, we're looking at a small window across Chicago towards the Indianapolis region, all the way to Grand Rapids into the Fort Wayne, Indiana region. Those areas are the highly most favored of seeing some larger hail, and the same areas could actually unfold an isolated tornado or two, more of a conditional risk. And I do feel once this gets going, it'll transfer into more of a squall line. But there's the discrete supercells that I'm kind of more concerned about right now. This is about 8 o'clock. This is 8 o'clock on Tuesday night. You can see there's 3 areas of concern where they've kind of separated from one another. That's where we could see some of those larger hailstones come to fruition through the Fort Wayne, through the South Bend region, through the Lafayette, all the way down to possibly coming out of St. Louis there. Those are the favorite areas, and I think this only lasts about 3 hours. So there's going to be a small window. I was thinking 8, 9, 10, possibly 11 o'clock. But once we hit the midnight time frame, you can see it all kind of congeals together and forms that damaging wind threat. So I think it starts off as a hail threat, goes into more of a conditional tornado threat, and then it transfers into more of a damaging wind threat as we get towards that midnight time frame, going into further of those areas into Ohio, and that will eventually get really kind of messy coming in as you go into the overnight areas into the mid-Atlantic. And there's going to be a little bit of snow. I mean, yes, there's going to be about a 1, maybe 2-inch swath of snow that's going to be coming in through areas of Nebraska, through northwestern portions of Missouri. That same snow could actually go back into those areas into Chicago. So yes, we're talking mid 70s for highs in Chicago, and then we're talking it all ends with a little bit of snow by the time we get into Wednesday morning. That's a crazy setup, folks, and that's what we're working with this dynamic system, and that's easily a 40-degree drop once that front hits that air mass, and then the precipitation comes in on the backside and wringing out the precipitation. But here's the front, folks. I mean, this is the feels like to the body as you wake up on Wednesday morning, and yeah, those are actual feels like numbers. They are 12 below zero into Iowa, down into the single digits, if not almost below zero, right? So you go from essentially a mid 75 heat index to 0 degrees. That's, or even maybe a negative, that's like an 80-degree drop from heat index to feels like. That's crazy for just in that a short amount of time frame. And that's a sharp temp gradient even down to 18 wind chill down there into the Oklahoma City region. So it's going to feel a lot more like winter, even though it does appear it's very short-lived. And then obviously it will moderate the further south you live, and of course more the further southeast you live, it will moderate even further than that as we go into the Wednesday timeframe. But still highs in the 50s across the southern plains. But there's the precipitation that will be moving off into the east. I don't think any of this is severe by the time we head into Wednesday, but nonetheless, we could be seeing some sporadic showers across this region through eastern Tennessee, through Kentucky, back into West Virginia. This goes through the mid-Atlantic regions and into the Northeast. Again, you see some snow squalls coming in on the backside, but if any snow that comes to fruition, it's just going to be like a little wet snow for about a couple hours, and then it'll all come out. But it's rapidly moving off the East Coast. By the time we head into Thursday morning, we are seeing a little bit of a system trying to come together. This is a short wave that's trying to develop over those drier areas across New Mexico and actually West Texas. This is a short wave that it's trying to eat out all the layers of the atmosphere, right? I mean, this is a bone dry area, right? So it's got to take a lot of work to break down and saturate some of those areas. But I do feel it starts to do that in a little bit of a way. But the short wave is fairly weak as it looks right now, because you can see how weak it is. I mean, it's not much. This is a little bit of a colder pocket aloft that will be swinging through the southern areas, eventually heading through the southern plains and getting into the southeast, but more of a significant system that will be diving back into the west and the Pacific Northwest. That's going to be really dropping those temperatures again as we head into March. And then we also ramp back up again across those areas into the central part of the U.S. as those temperatures start to soar again by next weekend. Not as high as what you're going to see the next 2 days, but still well above average for March standards. And the only game in town will be the West again. Those temperatures drop like a rock. You got more Intermountain West snows, and you got more rain coming for the Pacific Northwest and especially California. They've just been crushed as of lately. And yes, another system that's just kind of sitting and spinning and stalling out there. So by the time we head into that second time frame, there's the short wave that will be moving across. It's out of Texas by then, highlighted over the southeast with more, light to moderate showers for them. And then the main component is out west with that more significant system bringing more snow squalls across this region, and then more light to moderate, if not almost heavy rain at times across a good part of California. And looking in the next week, again, we see another system, right? But we always see the two jet stream. You got the southern jet stream and you got the northern jet stream. And again, right now, it doesn't appear that it actually tries to come together. So yes, there is some severe weather that we have to be on the lookout for by the time we head into Monday timeframe next week. But as of right now, it doesn't look as that significant, but it's definitely something to watch because this is, of course, about a week away. But right now, Storm Prediction Center doesn't have anything on this particular risk, but the learning model does have an area to watch. It's right there to the right of where that upward rising motion air would be. And that as that system tries to go negatively tilted on the northern side of that upper level winds there, then that's where we got to be concerned across these areas into Missouri, Arkansas, possibly the Louisiana area. So if this starts to come together in a bigger fashion, we'll be definitely fine-tuning that in the days to come. So guys, I appreciate you guys watching. Do like this video, definitely hit the subscribe button, and catch me next update where I protect you before and after the storm.